And now the news. All Cassandras have but a single warning. All Chicken Littles see but one threat. The top 40 is popular because it is limited to 40 songs. To be famous, you must be famous for one thing. Does anyone in the sound of this reading care to apply what's just been said to a consideration of how the human mind normally operates, and thusly operates to limit the scope of its own operations? Over in Ural City, one of the more successful legal enterprises representing men's apparent passionate interest is the firm of Huff, Bitch, and Whine. Oh! We interrupt our broadcast to bring you this late-breaking news from the battlefronts all over the world, which has been datelined today for the last 7,000 years. Perhaps it's best, by the way, that the frail, the brittle, and those of deep mental sensibilities sit down for this. Notice to all civilian cortical populations, the pursuit of preferences will always be followed by bad news. Now back to the normal crap. News. Then one man asked himself, do you have any idea what I'm talking about? And had to answer himself truthfully. And now for sure, back to the news. No man has a history without him thinking about himself. And he has none with other people, save they think about him also. Think about it. To be a man with no history, frightening to most, fascinating to a few. 11-foot cotton sack singing the blues regarding the person it must support attached thereto. The thinking of men that runs in line, in sequence, in time, runs nowhere. This is how the wheel of the mind is able to push itself from the rear. If you wish not to awaken from confusion, uncertainty, stupidity, and unsatisfying dependence on the ideas of others, then by all means, never turn the bright morning light of your own mind back on its slumbering self. Those who do not see are simply those who do not try to see. There are 2 train stations, each with its own particular reading material available for awaiting passengers. One station has only works of fiction, news periodicals, and non-fiction writings, while the other one furnishes nothing but the literary metaphorical. In other words, in one place is reading an intellectual waste of time, while in the other, at least you have a fighting chance. One man's motto was, don't just live your life, but witness it also. After much searching, one man finally tossed his flashlight into a canyon and could then see much better. Amidst the discussion between a smart man and a dumb one of them said, but only if suicide were possible. And the other one didn't have the vaguest idea what he was talking about. A man went to the king and said, help me, sire. I fear that I am becoming mentally ill. To which His Excellency replied, your coming to see me certainly supports such a possibility. Why cannot the mind conceive of itself via such circumstances? Because one flow of energy cannot bow down to itself, except under conditions wherein it imagines it can, which are, nice you ask, the conditions prevailing in the routine throne room of the mind. Then, based on this unexpected turn in common stock prices, one man asked, how comes it that the supreme ruler of a land cannot, with his own self, communicate? And the answer to that one can cause brokers from windows to fly, not drop. Questions and answers. Questions and answers. Does anyone here have any low-fat mayonnaise with them? Oh, a note just in from a man mentioned in an earlier story. The guy with the motto about witnessing your life and not just living it. He wants to add this insistence, says he. Be an active witness, an alert, real-time, objective witness, not merely a casual, after-the-fact, reconstructive reminiscer. A man with his inner eyes closed to himself will live a life in the dark, in a dream, and forever foreign to anything he understands. You can study anything you want to, but without the knowledge of a certain thing, the study of all else leads to but relative results, conditional successes, as it were, which the flaccid mind accepts as a tolerable synonymous cover for continued inconclusiveness, which is to say, failure. And a simple, effective weapon with which to combat this condition is always available to you. Be a witness to your life. Don't just live it, witness you living it, and let nothing therein distract you therefrom. One man had a bell implanted in his head. Within a short period of time, his head nicely absorbed the bell. Anyone still operating in the belief that they are smarter than their head hasn't yet begun to start operating. Selecting an enemy is one thing. Singling out the correct one, another matter entirely also. The warehousing of the unstable. Why are mad people locked up in a room? Because locked rooms are natural complements to madness. Remember, if it's not the weather being discussed, then it's the mind. I know. Everybody knows this. Everybody knows that as long as the sky is clear and awareness is in the light. But man's normal condition is cloudy skies with thinking that is comfortably in the shade. Reminder, to be mentally comfortable is to never go mad. And to never go mad is to never know what enlightened sanity to be. Big D in definitions time. Thought. The fearless, relentless, restating of the redundant and vacuous. The wisest man in the land told the king that he wished to be executed, and when asked why, replied, "For my own good." At the periphery of all kingdoms is an enthroned ruler. At its center, a potential man of wisdom. On one world, they have no words, ignorance, or stupidity, but use instead the term squandered, scattered resources. Who but a fool is never at home when he could be? But to be at home is to be totally at home. Now tell me, who but a fool, a man who never knew, fails to be at home when being at home is within his reach? On one planet, there are two types of creatures who know what they're doing. One of them takes seriously the thoughts in its mind, and the other doesn't. Oh, did I add that one of them definitely doesn't know what it's doing? One brother said, "I'll keep talking until I get it right." Another brother said, "I'll keep quiet until I get it right." And the difference, you see, is that one of the two states comes natural to man and one doesn't. And a boy asked his father, "When I grow up, can I be?" And the old man interrupted, "If you say natural, I'll slap the hog piss out of you." According to uncircumcised reports, over in another universe, some creatures similar to man evolved to have in their heads, instead of a thinking brain, sirens, so as to be able, I guess, to warn themselves. Big G, give them their due time. Past the sanctimonious, self-righteous position of words insisting that they mean what they say, is a place whereat you can corner them and actually from them wring useful information. But remember, scouts, it will not be what they first offered and purported. One man tried to strike a deal with his mind that it could think about anything it wanted to, as long as it wasn't something that had already happened or was yet to happen. And his mind said it'd think about it when it had the chance. While on a long journey alone, a man began to ponder a certain question: whether it is most promisingly profitable to conceive of what normally takes place in his head as the noun, the mind, or as the verb, thinking. As he continued his travels, he continued to consider this question. On the outskirts of one universe was a series of signs greeting those who approached, which read, "Why do mentally propelled beings perceive our reality to be divided into twos? Where do such creatures come from? And what is their purpose here? What is it in their makeup that is responsible for this confusion? And where do they come from anyway, and what do they want from us? Have a nice stay." Turns out the Chamber of Commerce forced them to add that last line. More news from the world of the undead. Headline on a headstone: first get your mind off yourself, then get your mind off your mind. Boy asked a man, "Is life meaningless?" "Only if you think it is," he replies. And the boy asked, "Then does life have meaning?" "Only if you think it does," he replies. A king asked an explorer, "What is the most dangerous type of search?" "A serious one," he replied. One man talks with ghosts. "Every time I think, I talk to ghosts," says he. And finally, over and over, did one man remind himself, study the bucket, not the slop.